I became the woman I swore I'd never be. The one who checks her husband's phone while he sleeps. The one who tracks his location 20 times a day. The one who can't eat, can't sleep, can't breathe without wondering where he is and who he's with. I didn't become this woman when he cheated. I became her when I decided to stay. My name is Lauren. I'm 32 years old, and I spent 2 years trying to forgive my husband for cheating. 2 years convincing myself that staying made me strong. 2 years slowly destroying the person I used to be. Until I finally realized the truth. I didn't save my marriage by staying. I just lost myself completely. Let me go back to the beginning. I found out about the affair on a Tuesday, a text message, from a number I didn't recognize. Your husband isn't working late. He's with me. Attached was a photo. Him, her, a restaurant I'd never been to. My hands shook so hard I dropped my phone. When he came home that night, I was sitting in the dark, waiting. He walked in, smiled. Hey, babe. Sorry I'm late. Work was crazy. I turned on the lamp, held up my phone. Wanna try again? His face went white. The next 3 hours were a blur. Crying, yelling, him on his knees, begging. It didn't mean anything, I swear. It was a mistake. Please, I love you. I'll do anything. I should have told him to leave, right then, that night. But I didn't. Because a part of me, a part I'm ashamed of now, wanted to believe him. Wanted to believe that our 7 years together meant something. That our marriage could survive this. That love could be enough. So I said the words that would haunt me for the next 2 years. Okay, we'll try. Everyone told me I was doing the right thing. My mother said, marriage is work. You don't just throw it away. My best friend said, if he's willing to change, you should give him a chance. Even my therapist said, healing is possible if both people commit. So I committed. I committed to forgiving him, to rebuilding trust, to saving our marriage. What no one told me was what that would cost. The first month was almost okay. He was attentive, apologetic. He deleted social media, gave me his phone password, came home early every day, brought me flowers, told me he loved me constantly. And I tried. I really tried to let it go. But every time he touched me, I thought about her. Every time he said, I love you, I wondered if he'd said it to her too. Every time he left the room, I felt my chest tighten. Where is he going? Who is he texting? Is he lying again? The second month, the cracks started showing. He got frustrated. I'm trying, Lauren. What more do you want from me? I need time. How much time? I said I was sorry. I'm doing everything right. When are you gonna move on? Move on. Like it was a bad day. Like he'd forgotten to take out the trash. Not like he'd shattered every ounce of trust I had in him. But I didn't say that. I said, I'm trying. And I was. I was trying so hard it was killing me. By the third month, I started checking his phone. Every night, after he fell asleep, I'd carefully take it from the nightstand, hold my breath, scroll through messages, emails, photos, search history, looking for proof that he was doing it again. I found nothing, but that didn't make me feel better. It just made me feel crazier. Because if I couldn't find anything, did that mean I was paranoid? Or did it mean he just got better at hiding it? I started tracking his location. I told myself it was for safety, but really, I was watching him. Every lunch break, every errand, every time he said he was going to the gym, I'd refresh the app, check the address, cross-reference it with what he told me. It always matched, but I still couldn't stop checking. I became obsessed. One afternoon, I drove to his office during lunch just to see if his car was there. It was. I sat in the parking lot for 20 minutes, watching, waiting. For what? I didn't even know. When I got home, I felt disgusting. What was I doing? Who had I become? But I couldn't stop, because the fear was louder than my logic. The fear that he was lying again, that I was a fool, that everyone was laughing at me behind my back. The paranoid wife who stayed. By month 6, we stopped having sex. Not because I didn't want to, but because every time we tried, I'd start crying. I'd see her, imagine him with her, wonder if I was better, worse, if he thought about her when he touched me. He'd hold me and say, "It's okay, we don't have to." But I could see it in his eyes. Frustration, resentment. He was getting tired of my inability to move on. And honestly, so was I. I was exhausted. Exhausted from pretending I was okay. Exhausted from monitoring him like a parole officer. Exhausted from the constant anxiety eating me alive. One night, I broke down. Completely. We were having dinner. He was talking about his day. Normal. Casual. And I just started sobbing. Uncontrollably. He looked terrified. "Lauren, what's wrong?" "I can't do this anymore." "Do what?" "This. Us. Pretending I'm okay. I'm not okay. I haven't been okay since the day I found out." He reached for my hand. "I know, and I'm so sorry, but we're getting better. We're working through it." I pulled my hand away. "No, you're working through it. I'm drowning." Silence. He didn't know what to say, and honestly, neither did I. Because I'd convinced everyone, including myself, that I was strong enough to forgive. But I wasn't. I was just pretending, and pretending was destroying me. Month 9, I started having panic attacks. At work, in the grocery store, driving, random, sudden. My chest would tighten, my heart would race. I couldn't breathe. I went to a doctor. She asked if I was under stress. I laughed, a bitter, broken laugh. "You could say that." She prescribed medication for anxiety, for sleep. I took them. They helped, a little, but they didn't fix the real problem. The real problem was that I was living with someone I didn't trust, and every day I stayed, I trusted myself less. Because I knew, deep down, I knew, this wasn't healing. This was slow destruction. 1 year after the affair, we went to couples therapy. The therapist asked us what we wanted. He said, "I want to rebuild what we had." She turned to me. "And you, Lauren?" I opened my mouth, and then I said the thing I'd been too afraid to admit. "I don't know if I want this anymore." He looked at me like I'd slapped him. "What?" "I've tried. For a year, I've tried to forgive you, to trust you, to move on, but I can't. You're not trying hard enough." And there it was, the thing he'd been thinking all along, that this was my fault, that I was the problem, because I couldn't just get over it. The therapist stepped in. "Lauren, do you feel safe in this relationship?" No. Do you feel respected? No. Do you feel like yourself? I started crying. I don't even know who I am anymore. That session was the beginning of the end, because I finally said out loud what I'd been feeling for months. I wasn't staying because I loved him. I was staying because I was terrified of failing, terrified of admitting that I'd wasted a year trying to save something that was already dead. Month 14. I started planning my exit. Quietly. I looked at apartments, opened a separate bank account, talked to a lawyer. Not because I was ready to leave, but because I needed to know I could. He didn't notice. Or maybe he did, and he didn't care. We were roommates at that point. Polite, distant, existing in the same space, but living separate lives. One night he asked me, "Do you still love me?" I looked at him, really looked at him, and I realized something. I didn't know. I didn't know if I loved him, or if I just loved the idea of not being a failure. "I don't know," I said. He nodded, like he already knew the answer. Month 16. I told him I wanted a divorce. We were sitting on the couch, watching TV. I turned it off. I can't do this anymore. He didn't ask what I meant. He just said, "Okay." No fight, no begging, just okay. Because I think he was exhausted too. Exhausted from living with someone who looked at him like a stranger. Someone who flinched when he touched her. Someone who couldn't let go. The divorce was quick. We didn't have kids. We split everything evenly. It was civil. Almost too civil. Like we were both relieved it was finally over. The day I moved out, I stood in the empty apartment. Our apartment. The place we'd built a life. And I felt nothing. No sadness, no regret. Just relief. Because for the first time in 2 years, I could breathe. Now, 6 months later, I'm starting to recognize myself again. The woman who doesn't check anyone's location. The woman who doesn't panic when her phone buzzes. The woman who can sleep through the night. Here's what I learned. Forgiveness isn't always noble. Sometimes it's just self-destruction disguised as strength. Staying doesn't always mean you're fighting for love. Sometimes it just means you're too afraid to walk away. And the hardest truth of all? I didn't leave because I couldn't forgive him. I left because I couldn't forgive myself. For staying when I knew I shouldn't. For betraying my own boundaries. For losing myself trying to save something that was already gone. If you're in a relationship where you're constantly afraid, where you've become someone you don't recognize, where forgiveness feels like drowning, please hear this. You are not weak for leaving. You are not a failure for admitting it's not working. And you are not obligated to destroy yourself to prove you tried. I stayed for 2 years, and all I have to show for it is the woman I had to become to survive. Paranoid, anxious, broken. That's not love. That's not healing. That's self-betrayal. And the day I finally left, that wasn't the day my marriage ended. That was the day I started choosing myself again. And that was the only thing worth saving.